Now let's talk about delegation, and we'll ask the question, what exactly is delegation? And the best way to do this is just a real-world example. So let's click on Start, go into Administrative Tools, Active Directory, Users, and Computers. Now once I get this open, let's think about something here. Let's say that this is a growing company, and for those of you who are working right now as an administrator, you know that you show up to work every morning, you even get there a little early because you've got 3 things you absolutely want to get accomplished today. By 6 o'clock tonight, you have not yet touched any of those 3 items. It just happens that way. I've been there. So what can you do to help put out all the little fires that come up all day long, like people's accounts being disabled because they did the wrong password too many times, or people needing to reset their password, or just all kind of stuff? Well, we can delegate certain responsibilities to people because it's very easy to train someone. For example, Frank Jones needs to reset a password, or we need to reset his password or enable his account. We can train someone to right-click and go in here and reset the password, or to enable or disable an account. If it was disabled, then when we come back in here, we could just choose to enable it. Very easy to train people to do that. But we don't want them to be full-fledged administrators. So what we can do is delegate control. And I'll show you an example of that. Let's go to the domain level here, VTC class of our Active Directory domain. And then let's right-click, and you'll notice Delegate Control. Now any label that you can delegate from, Delegate Control will show up. So we can delegate control, for example, only in an OU. But I want to delegate it across the domain, so I'll say Delegate Control. This will kick off the delegation of control wizard. Now you can get pretty fancy with this thing. We're going to do it basically here so you can kind of get your head around it, and then you can dig into it. First question, what user or group do you want to delegate control to? Well, you really should create a group for this. Let me back out of here right quick, and let's just create a group called Admin Assistant, and we will make that, we'll leave it as a global group. We have an Admin Assistant group now, and so we will delegate. We're going to delegate some control to that group. And so we will add, we will go search for our Admin Assistant group. We add that and we say OK. All right, and then next we say, what do you want to delegate to this group? Notice create, delete, and manage user accounts. Yep. Reset user passwords, enforce password change. Read all user information. We don't want them to manage group policy links or this other stuff, and so at this point we can just say next. And that group has that, and then any user we set in there will have that permission. Pretty easy, right? We'll come back and I want to show you how fancy we can get with this, or how involved we can get. Create a custom task to delegate and click next, and notice I can delegate control of this folder, existing objects in the folder, and creation of new objects, and I can hit next. And now I can start to set property specific things. Notice like whether or not they can read or write certain aspects of the Active Directory objects. Creation, deletion of child objects. So I can set all kinds of things on here, and you can just scroll down through these and play with them and look at them. Or I can say only the following objects, only account objects. I can create or delete selected objects in the folder. You'll just have to go play with this and see what makes sense to you, see what you like. And so when we hit this, we have now given or delegated that particular functionality to that group, drop users in it, and then they can help us. And we have not had to give them but certain selected rights. There's a lot of things that can happen here, and let me show you one more thing. If I go into this group and go into properties, if you go into security, give you an idea, we'll just stick with self here. Notice there's full control, read, write, and a few other things. But if you click on advanced, you will start to get an idea of the power of Active Directory and the depth of it. But you can set individual settings. For example, we're going to say for the self under special, we can edit this, and you will notice there's a lot of things that we can allow or deny functionalities to, or permissions. Then we can choose properties, and we can apply to this object only descendant computer connections, objects, so forth. Notice there's a lot of this stuff. And then we can also change to different groups and so forth. You just get an idea here of the depth. You've got a lot of control here that you can change, but delegation lets you pass these permissions around without having to grant blanket permissions. I hope I didn't confuse you there, but go out and read about the delegation before you go take this exam, and then play with it in the interface. Make sure it makes sense to you, because you will see questions about this on the exam.